Hey there, Possum Rob here. I know I said we was going to talk about why Obi-Wan didn't kill Anakin in the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale, but this episode we're going to talk about Star Trek. We'll talk about the Obi-Wan thing next time. Maybe. I don't know. I need to stop planning these things out like that. It never works out. Anyways, I know some of yous ain't Star Trek fans, but let me tell you, you ought to be. There's lots of great stuff in Star Trek. Most of the recent stuff, I admit, ain't been all that great, except for this beautiful thing right here. But back in the day, it was some quality stuff. I've been a fan since before there were any movies. Possum Dad and I would stay up to 10:30 on Friday nights to watch it in syndication, and I couldn't get enough. One of my heroes to this day, if we're counting fictional characters, is Captain James T. Kirk. Professional, capable, brilliant tactician, jovial when the situation calls for it, not bad with the ladies, dedicated to duty, but fiercely loyal to his friends and crew. What's not to love about this guy? And on top of all that, he can talk a computer into committing suicide faster than one tribble can turn into 5 tribbles. Folks, you gotta watch the show if you want to get these jokes. So today, we're going to take a break from the wars, and we're going to talk about the Trek, as we rate and review the top 4 times Captain Kirk used words to blow up computers. Now, you may say that's a lot of times this happens on the show. Well, then you'll be surprised to hear that there's 3 honorable mentions at the end. Yeah, and it's all from the original series. Also, we're going to spoil all of these episodes, so there's your warning. Alright, here we go. The Return of the Archons. I'm not going to get too into outlining the plot here too much on any of these, because that takes a lot of time. Suffice it to say that a society on a planet that the crew encounter are held in a 19th century state of development and complete docility by a seemingly supernatural being called Landru, who looks like a cross between Brad Dourif and Dune and Gozer the Gozerian. Was I right or what? Well, it turns out Landru's actually a computer that was just supposed to take care of the people, and he went a little haywire. He's still in control, so in order to get things back on track, Kirk's got to whip up a little logic fool on Vidal Sassoon over here. So let's take a look. Now, you're going to hear about the Prime Directive in this scene, but it ain't that Prime Directive. Even though this is the first episode that they mentioned that Prime Directive. It's a little confusing, but whatever. Let's roll it.
What is the good?
I am Landru.
Landru is dead. You are a machine. A question has been put to you. Answer.
The good is the harmonious continuation of the body. The good is peace, tranquility. The good of the body is the directive.
Then I put it to you that you have disobeyed the Prime Directive. You are harmful to the body.
The body is, it exists, it is healthy.
The body is dying. You are destroying it.
Do you ask a question?
What have you done to do justice to the full potential of every individual of the body?
Insufficient data.
Without freedom of choice, there is no creativity. Without creativity, there is no life. The body dies. The fault is yours.
Are you aiding the body or are you destroying it?
I am not programmed to answer that question.
Answer the question.
Peace, order, and tranquility are maintained. The body lives. But I reserve creativity to me.
Then the body dies. Creativity is necessary for the health of the body.
This is impossible.
We must create the good. That is the will of Landru, nothing else.
But there is evil.
Then the evil must be destroyed. That is the Prime Directive. And you are the evil.
I think. I live.
You are the evil. The evil must be destroyed. Fulfill the Prime Directive. You,
Landru, help me.
are the evil. Fulfill the Prime Directive.
Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me.
Okay, so I like this one. The use of logic was okay. He made some statements that didn't necessarily follow, and Landro did some of the work for him there, but I like that Spock came in with the assist. So in the category of logic foo, I give it 3 out of 5 stars. I like that Landru the computer was built by Landru the guy thousands of years ago. Something about a super old computer that don't need any kind of maintenance, I really dig that. That's a heck of an uptime. Plus, he had great spooky servants out there with cool sounding voices, so that's a bonus too. Listen to these guys, the lawgivers they're called.
You attack the body.
Pretty sweet, right? So in the category of quality of opponent, I'm going to give Landru 4 out of 5 stars. Now when Landru finally gets where Kirk is going and finds himself backed into that corner, we get lots of smoke, some sparks, and what looks like some kind of Mission Impossible fuse over on the left side of the box there. That's not bad, maybe 3 stars, but I'm giving it a bonus star for that self-satisfied smirk on the captain there. Yeah. In the category of splody fun, this gets 4 stars. The Ultimate Computer. Now, this one is one of your classic Frankenstein stories, right? The computer that's supposed to make things better, go figure, ends up going cuckoo and killing everybody. The guy who designed it, Dr. Daystrom, tries to reason it back to sanity and ends up getting a little tetched himself. Our boy has to step in and work his magic. Let's take a look.
You have already rendered one starship either dead or hopelessly crippled. Many lives were lost.
The ships attacked this unit. This unit must survive.
Why?
This unit is the ultimate achievement in computer evolution. It will replace man so man may achieve. Man must not risk death in space or other dangerous occupations. This unit must survive so man may be protected.
Captain, attack force almost within phaser range.
There were many men aboard those ships. They were murdered. Must you survive by murder?
This unit cannot murder.
Why?
Murder is contrary to the laws of man and God.
But you have murdered. Scan the starship Excalibur, which you destroyed. Is there life aboard?
No life.
Because you murdered it. What is the penalty for murder?
Death.
And how will you pay for your acts of murder?
This unit must die.
Okay, this one starts strong with Kirk using the technique where he's asking why the M5 states that he must survive, forcing him to reveal his reasoning so Kirk can set up the kill shot. But when we get to the part where he has to convince the M5 that he's committed murder, kind of like Landru did, M5 just kind of accepts it without much of a fight. In the end, Kirk is right, but I don't buy that the M5 would just lay down like that. The Logic Foo score does give it a bonus, though, for the way that Kirk says the word why.
Why? Why?
You gotta love it. 2 stars. The M5 Multitronic unit was a great prop that ends up getting reused a couple of times here and there in the series, and it's kind of scary in just how matter-of-factly it does all the crazy things it does in this episode. And William Marshall as Dr. Daystrom is beautiful. How he plays a super genius, always just on the edge and going full tilt banana cakes, is a joy to watch. But what do you expect? This guy was Blackula. Quality of opponent, 5 stars, hands down. But when Kirk finally reaches the threshold with M5, there isn't a lot of fanfare. It just kind of turns off and that's it. No smoke, no crazy voice effects, it just kind of stops. Pretty weak. Splody fun, more like splody none, 1 star. The Changeling. In a conceptual precursor to Star Trek the Motion Picture, an Earth probe called Nomad, sent out a long time ago, comes back and wants to wipe everything out because it ain't perfect. Sounds like my girlfriend in college. Anyways, the thing keeping the crew alive is that this thing thinks that Captain Kirk is actually the designer of the original probe, Jackson Roy Kirk, which he calls the creator. Yeah, super intelligent robot can't tell the difference between 2 people with the same last 4 letters in their last name. And it don't even run on Windows. So when Nomad really reaches a crescendo with his killing, which he calls sterilizing, Kirk steps in and brings the logic beat down ruckus. Let's take a look.
I am Nomad. I am perfect. That which is imperfect must be sterilized.
Then you will continue to destroy that which thinks and lives and is imperfect.
I shall continue. I shall return to Launch Point Earth. I shall sterilize.
You must sterilize in case of error.
Error is inconsistent with my prime function. Sterilization is correction.
Everything that is in error must be sterilized.
There are no exceptions.
Nomad, I made an error in creating you.
The creation of perfection is no error.
I did not create perfection, I created error.
Your data is faulty. I am Nomad. I am perfect.
I am the Kirk, the creator.
You are the creator.
You're wrong. Jackson Roy Kirk, your creator, is dead. You have mistaken me for him. You are in error. You did not discover your mistake. You have made 2 errors. You are flawed and imperfect. And you have not corrected by sterilization. You have made 3 errors.
Error. Examine.
You are flawed and imperfect. Execute your prime function.
I shall analyze error. Analyze error.
Now, get those anti-gravs on it.
Examine.
Error.
We've got to get rid of it while it's trying to think.
Logic was impeccable, Captain. We are in grave danger.
Got it.
Analyze error.
Set controls for deep space. 210 Mark 1. Python.
Faulty.
Ready, sir?
Faulty.
Nomad, you are imperfect.
Error.
Exercise your prime function.
Faulty. Must sterilize.
Energizing.
Okay, unlike with the M5, we really show Kirk laying the groundwork for that killing blow. And I like that. It might go on a little too long, but I still dig it. And you gotta love that even when Nomad is obviously on the way to Splody Town, Kirk's gotta get in a few more jabs just to rub Nomad's face in it.
Nomad, you are imperfect.
Hey, bounce sand, you bum. Suck! Nice Christmas lights, jackass! Yeah, Logic Fu gets a solid 5 stars. Even Spock was impressed. I really like the design and execution of this robot. But while they really tried with that floating thing, Nomad kind of bounced around a little too much, and even if you couldn't always see the strings, you could definitely sort of sense them. But a lot like M5, the coldness of the character in Nomad was pretty creepy, and voice actor Vic Perrin gave him just enough menace in the voice to really sell it. But that string thing is rough. I'm going to give quality of opponent here 3 stars. After M5 dropped the breakdown ball, Nomad picked it up and scored. When this thing goes back cookies, the breakdown jabber is top notch, and the voice going up in pitch like that is chef's kiss mwah. Unfortunately, aside from a cutaway to an effects shot, we don't really get any smoke or fireworks. So for Splody fun, this is going to have to be 4 stars. Mud. Okay, I saved the best for last here. Lovable scoundrel Harry Mudd has built a utopia out of an ancient civilization who left their androids behind and has trained them to serve him and do his bidding and whatnot. But they start getting tired of that and want to explore the galaxy and take over the whole place. Norman, the leader robot, is the linchpin to the whole android organization, so they gotta fry his noodle in order to escape. Now what follows is something I would give my left to have been at the table read when these guys read this part of the script all together for the first time. It's too long to show the whole thing here, but we'll hit the highlights. Check it out.
Human beings do not
cannot survive on bread alone, you poor soulless creature, but on the nourishments of liberty.
Laboring without end.
Dying and crying and lamenting over our burdens.
Only this way can we be happy.
Logic is a little tweeting bird chirping in a meadow. Logic is a wreath of pretty flowers which smell bad.
Kill me! Kill me! Goodbye, cold universe.
Let us hear it for our poor dead friend. Mr. Spock, it is time. The explosive.
Very well, Captain.
Explosive!
Don't panic, women and children first.
Detonator.
Fuse. Primer. Mashing.
There is no explosive.
No? Observe.
But there was no explosion.
I lied.
What? He lied. Everything Harry tells you is a lie. Remember that. Everything Harry tells you is a lie.
Now listen to this carefully, Norman. I am lying.
You say you are lying, but if everything you say is a lie, then you are telling the truth. But you cannot tell the truth because everything you say is a lie. But you lie, you tell the truth, but you cannot, for you lie. Illogical. Illogical. Please explain. You are human. Only humans can explain their behavior. Please explain.
I am not programmed to respond in that area.
So honestly, most of all of that ain't really necessary, but it's fun to watch these guys be goofy. They don't really get to do that much. But you gotta love the clincher that sets up an actually pretty clever paradox. That, on top of the fact that Kirk and the crew put all of this together pretty flawlessly without a lot of rehearsal time, makes the Logic Foo score a solid 5 stars. Norman and the rest of the robots are really good bad guys, because they do that whole we're serving you whether you like it or not, and we're taking over the galaxy for your own good thing that I always like way more than just being bad guys to be bad guys. Quality of opponent is another solid 5 stars. Now when Norman finally pops, while we don't get any sparks or fireworks, his head actually starts smoking in a really great effect. Seriously, this is really good. I love it. Look at that. Couple that with his breakdown jabber, which does a good job of explaining why he's blowing up over what they just said, in case you weren't too swoofed, and we got a perfect score here.
Come on!
There were some other instances of this, but they didn't make the cut because they weren't really the climax of their prospective shows, or the computer/robot wasn't the main bad guy, but they do deserve a mention, so here they are. You got the time that Kirk made an android lady break down because she couldn't handle being in love with him and being loyal to the guy who built her. You got another time when Kirk drove an android lady crazy by kissing her, giving her confusing emotional responses, causing her and the bad guy android to commit suicide together. You know, that'll happen. And this one, which didn't actually involve Kirk kissing people. There was a time when the evil entity that was the reason we had Jack the Ripper, among other scary people, was possessing the Enterprise computer, and Spock ran him off by making the computer try to figure out the last digit of pi. Kind of like an exponential exorcism, which is also the title of the new They Might Be Giants album. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this look at a classic Star Trek trope that I really love. I hope they find a way to bring it back somehow in the next season of Strange New Worlds. It's just so much fun and so very Star Trek. If you like this episode, like that thumbs up button down there so I know you dug it. And tell me about your favorite time when a hero talked a computer into blowing up in the comments down there. It ain't gotta be Star Trek, it could be any sci-fi show or movie. I'd love to hear about it. Alright, this has been Possum Rob watching stuff with you. Come back later, we'll watch more stuff, you'll love it. I ain't gonna try to guess what we're gonna do next time, but I promise we'll eventually talk about that whole Anakin and Obi-Wan thing at some point. And that Andor series looks pretty good, so I'll probably be doing reactions to that when it comes out. So click that bell so you get a notification when the new stuff comes out. And until next time, remember, possum friends are awesome friends. Take it easy, alright? Later.